my life, I'm surrounded by women. It's a good thing. And we mentioned briefly, we introduced Joan Huffman before, but I just want to let you know, your senator in this area is my friend, Joan Huffman. And Joan sits in front of me in the Senate. We're four of us. We call it the No Row. Robert Nichols, Jane Nelson, there's four of us, the most conservative four members of the Senate. And we're just pretty much no. What I want to tell you is that Joan Huffman, we have not had a conservative Republican lawyer in the Texas Senate of our 19 Republican members, and we needed her, and she did an incredible job. So Joan, again, thank you. All right. It is my honor, my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker tonight, someone who is surprising in so many ways, because like you, I watched her on television so many times, and she's feisty, and she's smart. And she came to the radio station a few years ago when she was on a book tour, and she was just this nicest person. She's just a sweetheart. Wow, that's great. Michelle Malkin was born in Philadelphia, not too far from me. I was born in Baltimore, Michelle, so good. Neither of us have that accent anymore. I think we both missed it. She went to Holy Spirit High School. Talking about getting filled with the Holy Spirit, went to Oberlin College. She began her career as a columnist for the Los Angeles Daily, went to the Seattle Times, and then started a syndicated column, and won many awards for her column. And then she started appearing on television, and then she wrote books. And you've seen her on MSNBC, and we don't talk about that network anymore, but everybody started somewhere, and moved over to Fox. Then her books, her bestsellers, Invasion, How Americans Still Welcome Terrorists, Criminals and Other Foreign Interests in Our Country is a bestseller. In Defense of Internment, a controversial book that she defended racial policy in World War II. Unhinged, Exposing Liberals Gone Wild. Nancy Pelosi's picture must have been on the cover somewhere. Harry Reid on the back. One time she was criticized. Someone wrote that she was the Asian version of Ann Coulter. To which Michelle said, "I'm not Asian, I'm American." She has one of the most read blogs in America. And in her spare time, she loves to go pier fishing, crochet, and play the classical piano. It is my pleasure and our pleasure to welcome you tonight, Michelle Malkin.
And I wouldn't have missed it for the world. And I knew that there was one thing I shouldn't do before I came, and that was to wear mascara. Because the stories of the folks who run the Foundation for Life, the counselors, the ultrasonographer, the doctors, and the stories of survival and true hope and change always move me to tears. You, each and every one of you here who supports Foundation for Life, are the ultimate agents of hope and change. In the name of God, you offer hope for our future, hope for life, and you change hearts and change minds through the power of your faith, through the power of persuasion, and with the use of divinely inspired technology. I've written many times over the years about the power of ultrasound, which provides a window to the womb. And I have supported the work of many crisis pregnancy centers all across this country. You know, we're represented by a majority in Washington, D.C. that claims to defend the oppressed, the underprivileged, the victims in our society, the poor, the minorities. They pay lip service to it, and yet they take so many actions and so much inaction in defending life from birth to natural death. Of course, while we're all here outside of the Beltway, you all know what's going on in the Capitol right now. As we speak, they are debating a government healthcare takeover bill. And there has been quite a conflict and a battle over the very issue that we're all here gathered to combat, the evils of abortion. I don't know how it's all going to play out with a particular amendment that the Democrats have offered at the last minute, sponsored by pro-life Democrat Bart Stupak. But I can tell you this, I agree with GOP Representative Chris Smith, who said earlier today on the House floor that abortion is neither health care nor reform. As the quote-unquote debate, the hurry-up debate that began today on a rare Saturday session in Congress began, the Democrats lined up a long parade of female congressional representatives from their side, and each of them offered their unanimous consent requests and editorialized each and every single time about why they believed that Obamacare, Pelosi care, whatever you call this, government health care monstrosity, was good for women and children. Each and every one of these female Democrats. Nancy Pelosi has crusaded, as a fresh voice of hope and change, and used her gender, exploited her gender, as a way to distinguish herself as a champion of the underprivileged and the poor, the minorities and children. And yet, their policies have done everything to undermine the safety and the security of our children and unborn children. There is such a deception and a deceit about who in Washington stands up for life. And it's up to each and every one of us to provide sunlight and to shed truth about the true champions for hope and change and life. There is a culture of death that we must combat, and a culture of corruption, which I've written about in my latest book. And it is quite troublesome that this administration continues to employ a science czar, John Holdren, who has been on record over the last 3 decades, musing openly and championing forced mass sterilization of women that they, the technocrats, deem, quote-unquote, undesirable. That we have a so-called science czar who has advocated for mass sterilizations, forced abortions, taking away children from the so-called undesirables. And the spirit and the ghost of eugenicist Margaret Sanger hangs over this administration like a very dark, dark cloud.